time now for our rants and raves, and we're going to start with Dan.
I have a rant for Vice Media, which has gotten a lot of great publicity the last few years for its courageous and edgy news reports on a variety of subjects. There have been a number of reports, including a new one in the Washington Post, about Vice's really over-the-top coddling of advertisers to the point of blurring out corporate logos that have turned up in video that doesn't make them look good. And there's a number of examples here. I just want to kind of end with one in which a show that was going to take a very negative look at Bank of America's mortgage lending practices was killed. And then a very short time later, it was announced that Vice was going to be doing a personal finance show in collaboration with Bank of America. I'll post a link to the Washington Post story in the comments on our website.
That's too bad. Do they have good advertisers? All right, who's next? Adam.
I want to rave for a This American Life segment done by Zoe Chase, who's a producer for them, used to work for NPR's Planet Money. This segment's almost a half an hour long. I just heard it on the way home last night. Our colleague Kirk Carapezza recommended it to me. It's a look at this very unusual Donald Trump supporter, the head of South Carolina Students for Trump. He is a gay, black, evangelical young man, totally anomalous, and it was this terrific examination of the way this sort of complex constellation of personal and political factors lead us to choose the candidate that we prefer. Everyone should take a listen to it. Fascinating.
Great, that's good. All right, Joanna.
So this may be the last opportunity to talk about this, but I want to give a rave to the Motion Picture Academy for honoring Spotlight. It was a kind of surprise win, given the way the night was going, but I thought it was a night that gave journalism and the Boston Globe its due. Mike Resendez, the Globe reporter who was apparently Mark Ruffalo's +1, got more airtime, I think, than Angelina Jolie usually does at these events. But really, it was a sign that people appreciate, a quiet procedural movie that's very true to life about journalism. It can be as compelling as a movie about a bear attack, and it proved the value of journalism, and it launched a whole bunch of tweets from people saying, hey, you like journalism? Go ahead and pay for it. So maybe there'll be some good exhaust off that as well.
You weren't here last week, but I actually gave a rave to Marty Barron, who had written a piece about Spotlight.
It was a great piece.
And we all said, we hoped they win. And but there was a lot of skepticism because The Revenant had gotten so much attention, and it was that big epic thing and all that. But clearly, Spotlight was a superior film, should have won, and I think we were all stunned and delighted for the Boston Globe. But by the way, what was it like working there when they were shooting that thing?
When they were shooting, they did spend a couple weekends shooting. Most of the sets were recreated in Toronto, and they recreated that Spotlight room, though. It was exactly what it used to look like. I mean, down to the papers all over the day. It was precise, and some of the hallway, the architecture of the building, was accurate. It felt nice to be a part of that.
Yeah, good.
It did.
Right. Tom.
I want to give a rave to the Associated Press. They did a series over last year called Seafood for Slaves. It was one of the most remarkable pieces of investigative reporting that I think I have ever seen. It took up about a whole year of reporting. And the Associated Press tracked boats and ships and car movements away. This was about how when we belly up to the seafood buffet and there's unlimited peeled shrimp, or we go buy cat food for our cats and so forth, a lot of that fish may come from people who literally had been held in slavery in East Indonesia. The only law that attempts to keep those products out of the U.S. Has not been enforced since the year 2000, so it's a great series.
Tom, it reminds me of a piece that Geraldo Rivera did in the 70s called Slave Ships of the Sulu Seas, and that was remarkable back then. He got on one of those slave ships and filmed that 40 years ago, and not that much has changed.
No, it certainly hasn't. The conditions were horrible.
The reason we're mentioning it is it won a Goldsmith Award.
That's right, at the
investigative
Shorenstein
journalism.
Center at Harvard.